Hello, I'm coming to you from outside of the Acton Institute building in downtown Grand Rapids, Michigan. A little different setting than the fireside room that I usually use to offer these conversations. And the reason I'm doing that is because, like in many places throughout the United States, here even in Grand Rapids, West Michigan, there has been some violence, demonstrations, and I wanted to address this with you because I think there's a lot of confusion about it and also a lot of angst and concern.
We have watched as what was originally called a silent protest has turned into a violent protest. Downtown Grand Rapids now the scene of a major police operation as they try to disperse what was a crowd of hundreds of protesters gathered in the center of the city.
On Saturday night, there was a peaceful demonstration, a kind of memorial for Mr. Floyd, who was killed in Minneapolis. And then groups of people began to march through the city. They attacked the police station and broke the front windows of the police station. And then they came around and began to destroy many of the storefronts, vandalizing. The Acton Institute sits right in the middle of where these demonstrations took place. In fact, the buildings across from us were vandalized and looted, and the Mexican restaurant that is just beyond us across our parking lot had all of their front windows taken out. One of the things that's very important for me to acknowledge from the outset is the reality of racial prejudice in this country. It is not a coincidence that black man after black man after black man, including Hispanic men and including women, have been brutalized in a variety of circumstances, not just at the hands of police, but at the hands of their neighbors, at the hands of people who are virulently racist. This is intolerable, and it needs to be acknowledged first and foremost by the majority community in our country. Ignoring that reality is not acceptable. We have to begin there. At the very founding of the United States, there was a scar. Some people will say that the founding of the United States and the principles upon which it was predicated is the scar. That I disagree with. I think there was a contradiction at the founding of the United States with the institution of slavery. It's a contradiction to have slavery in a society that claimed to defend the inalienable rights of people who possess those rights not by virtue of law or government, but by their very nature. And to not acknowledge those rights inherent in the nature of every human being was a scar. It was a contradiction. Today, however, there are people who are saying that the founding itself, the protection of private property, the rule of law, the society that is characterized by ethical and religious institutions that are its primary force, the glue that keeps it all together, that is not a mistake. In fact, that is necessary for the building of society that will protect these ideals. The death of Mr. Floyd and of many black men like him and these demonstrations all bring us to social unrest and questioning our society, its values, and how we can proceed as a society that is vibrant and engaging and inclusive and productive and peaceful. After all of this destruction took place on Saturday night in Grand Rapids, on Sunday morning, before I celebrated Mass with my community, I drove downtown and circled the area where all the violence had taken place. I'll tell you what was surprising to me, aside from the fact that our building was not affected other than a few broken things here and there. What struck me was that the streets of downtown Grand Rapids were filled with people who didn't know each other. people who were probably skipping church. And they had brought brooms and shovels and trucks. They brought pizzas and coffee. And people began cleaning the city. By the time I was there, about 8 in the morning, much of it had already been cleared. So there are two different visions of what social engagement can look like. One is destructive, and the other is creative. One is predicated on lose-win. The other is predicated on win-win. The society that destroys, the society that confiscates and seeks only to redistribute rather than to create, is a destructive society. But a society that can inspire people to come out on a Sunday morning with brooms and hoses is a society that will long endure. It is a society that holds hope for the future, for human and social cooperation, a society that acknowledges the necessity to have participation from people of all different backgrounds, with different talents and different knowledge. It is a society that we must make a reality for the next generation.